And we're live.
Yun. Good evening sa lahat. Welcome to our another episode of Ask ZFT weekly podcast here. Sa live tayo ngayon sa ZFT page, no? So, shout out muna tayo sa mga nandito bago tayo magsimula. Okay. So, sino yung mga early comers natin? We have Sir Dan Alfres Rosaro. Shout out. Sir Adriel Pangilinan, ito, fresh graduate from PIP. Sir John Soriano, I think from Clarity to si Sir John Soriano, no? So, good evening. Good evening, sir. Sino pa ba? Dami-dami rin pala. Sir Joe Chris Huangad. Yan, good evening. Sir Timothy Manito. Sir Jervis Gamboa from, these are people from TR. J. Carlo S. Garjola. Yan, good PM. Si Ma'am Angela Ubaldo. Yan, pa-shout out. Ayan. Wash out! Wash out sa inyo. Ayan, sino pa? Sino pa yung mga nandito? Mga representatives ng mga iba't ibang groups. Ayan. Sir Oretna Steve from SSF. Uy, nandito si Sir Glenn De Vista. Sir Glenn, dapat magpa-charting ka sa TR. Nasa top 6 ata, top 7 sa Investa Cup. Yan, congrats, tuloy-tuloy lang. Sino pa yung mga nandito? Sir Adriel Pangilinan from TIP. Wala pa si Papa Yuri. Okay. Sige, while waiting for the other co-host, parang si boss ata may pa siya, may inaasikaso. So our topic for tonight is another very controversial topic, and it has something to do with mentorship. Ayan. So the title of our episode for tonight is The Glories and Pitfalls of Mentoring Programs. Sino dito yung mga pumasok sa sa mentoring programs? Meron ba?
Hello.
Ayan, nandito na si boss. Si boss ba yan, boss? Ikaw ba yan?
Dito ako.
Ayan. So, good evening, boss. Nandito din si Sir Alpha, pero I think nakamute pa siya. Diyan na ba si si Boss Alpha? Sir Alpha? Present yun. Okay.
Present.
Ayun, I'm just introducing yung topic natin for tonight. Kind of controversial but interesting at the same time. So the title is The Glories and Pitfalls of Mentoring Programs. So I was asking the audience kung sino sa kanila yung kumbaga pumasok sa mga mentoring programs natin sa community. I think lahat tayo. If I'm not mistaken, everyone in PR is technically under a mentorship, right? Or dumaan sa mentorship. Tapos most likely dito sa audience natin, siguro mga 90% mga part ng mga iba't ibang trading groups. So, let's start siguro with defining what a mentorship program is. Kasi I think sa public may konting confusion when it comes to this program or this idea. Kasi some people think na the moment nag-enroll ka sa parang trading course, automatically mentoring program na yun. So, sa inyo ba, boss? Ano yung definition ng mentoring program and how is it different from the typical teaching lang na ituturo sa yung system?
Okay. So, for me, mentoring is very personal, It's my definition kasi of mentoring is kind of like the blacksmith mentoring.
Okay.
Ganun yung olden times kasi, 'di ba? Whenever a mentor gets an apprentice, it is usually either the apprentice is going to ask the mentor na parang, pwede mo ba akong i-mentor? And then what happens is that the apprentice is going to be living with the mentor and the mentor is going to teach everything he knows about the craft. And not just that, but also how his mind works, work ethic, character, principles, those things. So, it's very different from the usual na siguro inisip ng iba na, mentoring is just, I teach you the system and then that's it. That is, to me, coaching. Kasi, iba yun eh. You're just teaching the craft, that's it. For me, dadalhin mo kasi yung, kumbaga yung ideals, some of the beliefs ng mentor, but not necessarily i-accept mo lahat. Okay. Or like, i-accept, it's some sort of like, ipapasa mo yun sa apprentice. And then yung apprentice, siya yung magmamaster nun and, make it his or her own and then develop it further.
Okay. So, is it safe to assume na mentoring is, kumbaga, the deepest level of instruction? Parang
for me, yes.
Okay.
It should be sacred for me.
Okay. Sige, si Sir Alpha. How would you define mentorship?
Mentorship kasi it's a tricky route kasi yun nga, parang usually para sa akin it's something that you want to duplicate yourself through others. Siguro you can say na si Jesus Christ is sa first yung mentorship na program ginawa niya when he was able to make 12 disciples out of yung teaching. So from those 12 and then diba yung from where kung ano na yung church ngayon or the religion. Parang ganun. You're not just teaching what you know, yung mga yung like the technical side. You're also teaching like how to behave, how to be someone. Parang the totality of the person.
Okay. So when we talk about kunwari sa ZFT, how did yung style of mentoring evolve over the past years? Kasi parang ako, I'm relatively new in the tribe din. So parang I joined, I think, 2018. So mga 2 to 3 years pa lang ako. Paano naiiba yung ngayon compared before?
Well, okay. Syempre, simulan ko na, no?
Sige,
before kasi very idealistic akong tao.
Okay.
Although ngayon, more realistic na rin. I would say how it was before was I really taught people how I think. So hindi lang yung stocks yung usapan. It's really about giving back. Why I do this? Like I tell people bakit tayo nagte-trade in the first place. So I tell them we're not here just for the money. Kasi we need to look at money a certain way. I still do that. I still do that. Syempre hindi yun mawawala na parang you remind people of what's important in life, because sometimes we just kind of get consumed about the craft, like we just study and then it's all about the money in the end. Syempre, especially pagka first time mong nakahawak ng ganong kalaking pera, no? Especially pagka alam mo na kung paano mag-trade. It can consume you. And for me, kasi napagdaanan ko na rin yun, I really want to warn people who I teach na parang don't let this craft consume you. Kasi this craft can, kumbaga may allure siya of, money, fame, influence, power, all these things. Parang pwedeng magkano eh. So, for me, it's not just really about the craft. It's also about, how to be careful about handling money and how to look at it a certain way. Ngayon, how it's different siguro kasi we're doing TI. Although I do still, parang I did masterclass recently. Although ngayon medyo hindi na. But even if I would continue doing the mentoring program, let's say, syempre, the mentoring iniisip natin in GFT when we had Project Seed or when we had the Subasta or when we had masterclass, it's really at least 4 months. Hindi siya yung parang, I really don't believe in instant mentoring na after, let's say, 1 month or 2 months or even 4 sessions, magaling ka na mag-trade, right? Kasi it's really a thing of mastery. And so I always tell people, even if the mentoring is done, you can still ask questions. Pwede naman kayo magpo-consult. Hindi man ibig sabihin na parang dahil tapos na yun, tapos na ang lahat, diba? Transactional masyado. Kaya sinabi ko, the mentoring that we want in ZFT is both hindi lang transactional but also relational. So we really go into the details of sometimes even talk to the person like, kumusta? How's your family? Kasi sometimes that can be a trigger for your performance. If you're not doing well in your relationship, that can affect trading. So, of course, I'm gonna ask you about that. Kasi hindi pwedeng sabihin na, hindi, okay lang, may problema ako sa ganito, pero okay lang yun. Hindi. Kasi that is going to be my business as well. If, let's say, yung performance mo nag-decline, there has to be an underlying reason for that. And how I see trading is very holistic. Meaning, whatever it is, diba, if you remember, I would always say this before na trading is whatever is your reality currently, that will overflow in your trading. So if you're having a bad day in your real life, let's say in your family or what, most likely it's going to spill over your trading. But if you have your life in order, most likely your trading is going to be in order as well. So, ayun.
Okay. Follow-up question, boss. Siguro, din to, better siguro si Sir Alpha muna yung sasagot. Kasi kayo, boss, parang you've been a mentor all your trading life, no? Parang hindi ka nagkaroon ng own mentor mo, per se. Tama ba?
Yeah. Oo. Experience eh. Siguro yung mentor ko, nanay ko, ganun.
Not really in trading. Hindi naman sa trading. Kasi yung audience kasi natin ngayon, I believe na marami dito naghahanap ng mentor. Diba? Actually, ever since nabuo yung trading community, parang yan na talaga yung in demand eh. Kanino ako magpapaturo, kanino ako magpapamentor. So yung question ko is, how would you know if this is the right mentor for you? And I'd like siguro si Sir Alpha to answer this as, being a mentor and a mentee at some point.
How to know the right mentor?
Parang how do you determine?
I guess it's siguro yung mo yung if they walk the talk, 'di ba? Siyempre una gusto mo yung you want to, okay yung results niya. Yan, hindi lang yung puro salita. So in trading, it's not just puro analysis. They can back it up with the trades. They are able to spot the moves before it happens, and then kaya break down what happens after.
Okay.
And then siguro yung after that is just yung mentorship is parang kung yung check mo kung parang yung ka-vibes mo ba yung tao. Siguro yung values niyo is aligned kung if 'di ba yung kung ito, let's say ang mentor mo iba naman yung sinasabi dun sa ginagawa niya, dun sa iba yung ginagawa niya, parang hindi aligned yung let's say values niya sa values mo. Syempre medyo off kayo. Hindi kayo magka-vibes or what. So yun siguro.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sa akin kasi parang doon talaga ako inclined yung regarding sa values. Kasi yung perspective ko kasi on mentoring, if ang habol mo dyan is yung content, like let's say you're after the ZFT system, anyone can teach you the ZFT system basta na ano na niya, kumbaga parang na-master na niya. So parang pag yun lang yung habol mo sa mentoring, like you want to know the trading system per se, parang sobrang dami mong options for that na tipong maguguluhan ka talaga. But if, parang sa ano lang din, sa stocks, diba? Like you have a lot of, may mga filters ka before you trade a certain stock. So it's the same thing with mentoring. Maliban sa quality ng system na ituturo niya, what about the value system? Okay, what about yung principles ng mentor na yon? Is it aligned with your principles? Kasi if it's not aligned, parang sobrang hirap i-absorb yung tinuturo niya sa'yo, knowing na parang may conflict pagdating doon sa deeper principles. Ewan ko pero para sa akin, parang mas ano yun, mas matimbang yun. So, yun. So, kayo boss, ano yung parang, assuming na naging mentee ka at some point, how would you know na this mentor is probably the right one or the right fit?
Sa akin, agree ako dun sa sinabi mo, values. Sobrang lakas kasi ng, halimbawa, if that person is teaching something, tapos hindi nga, let's say, hindi ko naman gusto yung value system niya, most likely it's going to be very transactional between me and the mentor.
Correct.
I can get what I want, which is the craft, Kasi nakakahawa din kasi, for me, dalawa yan passion dun sa craft niya. Alam mo kasi yung isang mentor na ginagawa niya dahil passionate siya about it, you can feel it sa energy niya, sa posts niya. And you can also, parang, syempre that's one factor. You don't want to have a mentor who does not know jack shit or doesn't really love what he's doing. He's just making money out of it. Yes, but like, alam mo yun, parang, kumikita ka sa trading, pero gusto ko makita na passionate ka talaga dun sa ginagawa mo. Diba? Parang, ang hirap naman kung parang bitter ka tapos you're asking to have someone who's really like bitter about the craft kasi nasistema na siguro siya. Ganun. Teach you about mentoring kasi baka mamaya magiging ganun din ako. So I want that kind of passion na parang na mahawa ako dun. So that's one, passion. And second, syempre, values. Kasi, ayun nga, if hindi kami, parang hindi kami same ng values, malamang, alis na ako. Parang, after that, come and go. Parang, okay, nakuha ko na yung gusto ko, alis na ako kasi hindi kita gusto, ganun. So, thank you, bye-bye. But for me, I really want, my idea is, gusto ko i-enjoy yung journey. Ayokong nagtitiis ako dito na parang sa school lang, di ba? Like, I'm pretty sure meron kayong mga favorite teacher na sobrang natuto kayo doon. Dahil magaling siya magturo. Dahil passionate siya not because nagbabasa lang siya doon sa textbook na word per word. Meron kasi akong ganong klaseng mentor dati, not mentor, teacher, na naalala ko, math teacher ko siya Every time magsasalita siya, he would just read word for word on the book. That's it. And then talagang, parang okay class, ganito. Shit, parang nirecord ko yun once just so that I could fall asleep pagka hindi ako makatulog. Pero
I remember so many teachers, biglang nag-flashback sa akin lahat ng mga ganun. Anyway, tapos
PTSD ka ba dyan? Pero ganun, like, it's ganun yung example ko Lahat tayo may favorite teacher and we want to, let's say, we took courses or we did decisions based because we really love that teacher. Alam mo yun, parang naging magaling ako na sa English or naging magaling ako sa math dahil sa teacher na to. Dahil sobrang passionate niya. Ganun yung gusto ko. So, if it's a person na, let's say, wala man lang love sa craft tapos hindi pa kami align ng values, ay better wag na lang, di ba? Mag-solo na lang ako.
Okay. Boss, ito medyo personal. What's the hardest part of being a mentor? Based sa 8 years of experience mo?
Magandang tanong yan.
General experience lang. Ako, curious ako personally.
Okay. So there are several things, but for me kasi, my success is really based on my students' success. So if I create successful, students, like they become good traders and outstanding citizens of this country, then for me, that is already success. Ang mahirap as a mentor naman is pag nakita ko na nag-fail sila and they didn't
Okay.
even try. Like, sometimes I see a lot of people with a lot of potential. Kasi halimbawa, sobrang galing nila sa business. And then, they would suddenly trade and they, you go into that craft, they learn the craft, they learn everything about the system and they're so excited to use it after the course na, alam mo na, lang nangyayari to lagi eh. Parang sobrang excited, gusto mong try lahat, kahit na sinabi sa'yo, focus ka lang dun sa kung asan ka magaling. And then they blow up, not everything, but a certain part, like, or a chunk of their psychology gets shaken to the point na hindi na sila magda-trade. Alam mo yun? And to see them give up really pains me kasi parang, shit, alam mo, ang laki ng potential mo eh. Sana kung nagkaroon ka lang ng konting push, then you would have become a really good trader. Or sana kung kinuha mo tong advice, then good, di ba? Sometimes, that to me is the hardest part of being a mentor. Na parang nakikita mo yung potential ng isang tao, but nasayang dahil hindi siya nag-try hard enough. Okay. Tapos, ayun, for me, ganun eh. Tapos, mas masakit pagka halimbawa may mga teaching ka na hindi naman sinunod. Na parang alam mo na eh, alam mo na kung ano yung tamang gawin. Bakit hindi mo ginawa? But syempre, it's a two-way street eh. Syempre, you as a mentor, kailangan nahuhuli mo yung mga ganong bagay. Halimbawa, meron na siyang error. You have to give that person the right push or talagang i-correct mo siya habang maaga pa. Kasi pag dumating sa point na, let's say, nagka-confident siya, doing the wrong things, mahirapan ka i-correct yun eh. And it might cause some rift. But as a mentor, you have to establish that kind of, I won't say na parang authority, pero kind of like, if that person submits as an apprentice, kailangan i-acknowledge siya na meron talaga siyang, kumbaga, meron kang authority na i-correct siya. Kasi kung hindi, bakit pa siya pumunta sa'yo para magpa-mentor kung hindi naman pala siya makikinig? So, may mga ganun kasing cases wherein, I'm just here to learn your system. I don't want to listen to you. I just want to learn your system.
So,
that's it.
Yung mga ganun, boss, like, parang how do you handle those kind of students? Kasi parang ang hirap, kahit ako naging teacher ako for 5 years, parang mararamdaman mo kasi na yung student is, ang after niya sa'yo is, parang for the sake lang na nandyan siya. Pero hindi talaga siya like fully nakikinig. Paano? How do you handle that?
Wala kang magagawa kasi they've already made up their mind. So, the best thing that you can do is bigay mo lahat. As in, huwag kang magulang, di ba? For me, binibigay ko naman lahat. Halimbawa, pag nagtatanong sila, ganyan, open naman sa consultations. But if they really don't listen to you, at least you can say na binigay mo lahat.
Okay.
Kasi, parang kahit na, like, there will always be people na may, alam ko na yan, sakit. Diba? Parang, alam ko na yan, bakit ko gagawin yan? Alam ko na yan eh. Diba? Parang ayaw nang bumalik dun sa basics. Basics yung pinaka-kailangan for you to have a firm grasp of the foundations. So, if there comes a time, and there will always be, that one student na special, talagang think of it na lang na it helps that this person is building your patience. Ganun, you develop as a a patient mentor. Kasi hindi pwede makipag-away doon. Pag nakipag-away ka sa estudyante mo, hindi na yun makikinig sa'yo. Whatever you say is going to be negative.
Okay.
Your job as a mentor is make them successful as much as as much as possible.
Okay.
Ayun.
Sige. So, thank you, boss, no? So, we're done siguro, no, with the perspective of being a mentor. Punta naman tayo sa mentee. So, let's say, for example, you have a mentee, tapos yung student na to is someone na talagang parang siya yung tipong student na has the potential to really outgrow you as a mentor. So, parang how would that affect the dynamics between you as a mentor and that student or that mentee? Na parang competitive siya in the sense na gusto niyang, alam mo yun, yung parang may mga ganun kasi na mga instances na parang gusto niyang maki-level sa'yo, parang ganun. So, how would you parang is that a good thing or is that unnecessary, parang ganun?
Alright. Sino bang muna? Ako, Alpha?
Si Alpha na lang muna.
Sige.
Alpha yung gusto ko marinig.
Sa akin, so kunya tama ba yung question was, what if yung mentee parang nakita mo is mayroong potential to be
may
to be even
potential.
better than you?
Yes, ganun. Is that a good thing or parang ano ba yan? Is that a bad thing or
Para sa akin, definitely it's a good thing kasi ang naman parang yun naman yung aim mo eh. 'Di ba? Parang you want your student to be better than you.
Okay.
Kung bakit mo siya pipigilan kung ganyan talaga, parang they have the drive to succeed. And parang that's the biggest parang lagi ko sinasabi sa mga students that the biggest way to thank us as mentors or teachers is your success. So kung the higher heights yung ma-reach mo, mas okay yan. Kasi diba, may sinasabi rin na, may quote din na sabi, be so good that you're parang magiging rivals mo na yung
correct.
yung teachers mo or diba? Yun yung hinahabol natin lahat eh. So parang kunyari, if they want to stand on their own, para sa akin, let them. Wag mo nang pipigilan kasi yun naman gusto na eh. Parang everybody has their own choice, everybody has their own decisions. So if they want to do something else aside from what you're doing, go ahead. Let them be. And then yun nga. Ang naman, in the end, kunyari in mentorship dito sa trading, in the end, ang mananalo naman dyan is in public kasi there will be more mentoring, more
So yun. Kayo boss, what's your perspective on that naman?
Sa akin, ganun din. I really love when I see my students earn more than me or they spot like good trades na parang, uy, ba't hindi ko to nakita? Sobrang textbook nito or bakit hindi ko na-trade? Diba? Sobrang nakakatuwa kasi yung ganun eh. Because, number one, trabaho mo yun as a mentor. You have to develop your mentee para maging super success siya. Kasi in the end, sila naman yung magdadala sa'yo eh. Diba? Parang that's also your legacy na parang, yung apprentice mo, yun yung legacy mo sa mundo. Na parang that's another one success to the world that, the system works, that what you're doing isn't in vain because naging successful siya eh. So, halos sinabi na lahat ni Alpha eh. Pero ayun nga, like bottom line talaga doon. Di ba parang kung tatanungin yung taong to, saan ka ba na, sino bang nag-mentor sa'yo? Okay, ito. So it's kind of like bringing honor pa rin in the house. So dapat hindi ka magiging insecure doon. Kasi yun talaga eh, like it all boils down there eh. Tapos ang mangyayari nun, if let's say for example in the future ganun yung mangyayari, 'di ba? Like it's kind of like how I see martial arts, 'di ba? Na parang nagkakaroon minsan ng away-away na sino ba yung may the best na na martial artist or something. And it's just nagbo-boil down siya dun sa kung sino yung naging mentor and then sino pa yung naging great kasunod nun, 'di ba? So for me, sayang naman kung pigilan mo yung student mo na maging successful just because let's say you're jealous or what. For me, that is very immature. Like for a mentor, if they would think that way, na parang hindi dapat dito lang yan, hindi yan dapat mas maging mataas sa akin or what. So that would be for me a sign of immaturity sa mentor.
And I think parang tama yun, no? Parang yung sinabi nyo boss na it brings honor to you, whether that student or sino man yan na i-acknowledge man nila yun or not, at the end of the day, parang na din yun, fulfillment na din yun sa part mo.
Yes, right. Definitely.
So,
padagdag lang.
Sige, go boss.
Ayun, padagdag lang. Nabanggit kasi kayo ni Z, parang mga kung fu na may sabihan kami before ng mga sa high school. Parang merong usually sinasabi mga kung fu artists, kung fu masters, sinasabi parang pag nag-aasaran sila trash talk. Pag lousy teacher, lousy student, lousy teacher. So, di mo malaman pag
Correct. Lousy student, lousy teacher. Parang replication talaga yung bottom line niya. So, in connection to that, ano sa tingin nyo yung problem, not siguro problem, but more of point of improvement with the trading community ngayon in terms of mentoring programs?
Sino bang mauna?
Ikaw na lang, boss.
Ako na lang. Sige, sige.
Ganun na lang yung format natin.
Okay. So for me, sa tingin ko, what the trading community needs improvement in when it comes to mentoring program is the definition itself and the expectation setting. Kasi doon naman talaga nagkakatalo sa unmet expectations.
Expectation. Sige, boss, continue.
Oo. Kasi halimbawa, pag sinabi mong mentoring program, ano bang pinasok mo? Are you here to get stock picks or are you here to learn the system? Because those two are very different. Some people think, pagka naging mentoring program ako, meron ako free stock picks. Diba? So parang for the entire the entire duration of the course, let's say 3 months pa yan or whatever duration you're thinking, baka isipin mo, isusubo sa'yo yung stock pick. Tapos, okay, ano bang pwede kong bilhin? Pwede pa tong, alam mo yung mga ganun? Which is totally not, kumbaga, hindi yung tama na expectation setting. Kasi kung ganun man yung hinahanap mo, edi nag-subscribe ka lang sana sa mga newsletter services or yung mga, let's say, broker analyst research, diba? So, ganun na lang sana yung pinasok mo. Pero, you have to understand kung anong pinasok mo, number one. Kasi, as a mentor, kailangan mo rin ipaalam yun sa magiging mentees mo before you take them. Ito yung pinasok mo, ito yung babayaran mo. So, kumbaga, mag-ano kayo na ito yung expectation setting. Mag-set kayo ng tamang, kumbaga, this is what you're gonna get if you're gonna enroll sa mga mentoring courses. Kasi ngayon, ang nangyari is, may mga promises of like you're going to be a good trader, ganyan. You cannot parang investment lang yan, ano? Like hindi mo magaguarantee ang success ng isang mentoring program. Or ng isang mentee pala. Kasi any system can work. All right?
Correct. Any system, yes.
Any system can work if swak yung lifestyle ng tao na yon, swak yung risk appetite ng tao na yon dun sa style. So it's kind of like if let's say kung martial arts lang you can't be a good boxer if you don't have arms. So bakit ka nandun sa field na yun, 'di ba? Siguro pwede kung ibang field pero not boxing kasi wala kang kamay. So kailangan magkaroon ka ng tamang kumbaga understanding of what you're getting into sa mentoring program na yun. Like, ipa-profile mo muna to. Is this a person who, like, is this an all-around system? Kasi CFT system, I would say it's an all-around system kasi yung system natin pwede sa position trading. Pwede siya sa, let's say, swing traders. Pwede siya sa momentum. Pwede siya sa scalping. Pwede siya sa bounce plays. So, these things okay lang. If, let's say, hindi ka mag-work sa momentum, at least meron kang 3 other options. Right? Paano kung yung mentoring program na is only momentum? Yun lang yung focus niya. Tapos hindi match yung personality niya or yung lifestyle niya dun sa momentum setup. That's going to be a disaster in the making, di ba? Kasi number one, wala kang time. So dun pa lang, magpe-fail na. Magiging frustrated yung student. Parang hindi naman ito work sa akin. Is trading really for me? Yes, trading could be. It's just that napunta ka lang sa maling kumbaga niche or sa specialized na yun, na course. So ayun, I guess I think kailangan magkaroon ng parang description dun sa course. The student has the responsibility to read kung ano ba yung description ng course na yun. Kung ano yung ino-offer, kung ano yung pwede lang i-expect. And the mentor has to provide that. Kasi kung sasabihin lang na mentor, you're gonna get the best mentoring service, you're gonna get the best trading system, that's bullshit. Diba? Kasi there's everything can work. It's just that you have to find the right fit for that person. Trading is not a one size fits all.
Correct.
Kailangan mo hanapin kung ano yung para sa'yo.
So, parang yan kasi yung, actually when I thought about this episode, yan talaga yung parang hugot ko or sentiment. Kasi, what I notice or what I observe sa community, nagkukulang ng expectation setting on the part of the mentor. Tapos, kulang din yung parang discernment or expectation ng mentee. So, try to imagine a mentoring program na yung mentor is ganito yung objective niya, tapos yung student naman, ang expectation niya is iba. Talagang frustrating yung magiging result nun. Kaya, napaka-controversial nung mentoring programs. I mean, before it was controversial, up to ngayon, controversial pa rin siya in spite of the so many improvements that happened for this type of for this type of program. Kasi yun, kulang sa expectation setting. Kumbaga parang sometimes napapansin ko, like people who like to teach trading, they market trading as if it's the solution to all the problems of the student, which doesn't make sense to me kasi parang trading will start as a problem. Tama man yung tama man yung framing ko, but it starts as a problem and eventually it will help you resolve yung mga yung mga concerns mo, like in terms of finances, paano mo papalakihin yung capital mo, but it doesn't start as a solution. And that's the problem. Like a lot of mentoring programs, they advertise or they market the program as if it's an immediate solution, which I think dangerous siya for both ends.
Yes.
So yun. Si Sir Alpha, baka may may additional inputs.
Sa akin lang is coming in, I'm thinking, let's say, I'm a newbie looking for a mentorship program. Sobrang saya ko siguro kasi ang daming programs out there.
Yeah, correct.
No, ay, 'di ba? Parang pwedeng pumasok ako dito, parang siguro there's at least 10 or more na mga mentorship programs. They'll teach technicals and stuff. Dyan, siguro isipin ko na lang kung saan yung pasok sa budget ko, saan yung pasok sa time ko, kung ano yung meron na the soonest one, yun yung papasukan ko. And then, yung tanong na lang dyan is kung magsistay ka o hindi. Siguro it's yung, if you feel na you feel valued, diba? Parang yung sabi na yung Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you feel valued, and then okay pa sa'yo yung mentorship ko nung tinuturo after, hindi okay. Pero ang dyan is for me, kasi siguro iba ako na, hindi ako naghahanap ng community per se. Kagad. Kasi yun nga, why will I join mentorship for trading? It's because I want to learn technicals and trading. And then, kung meron bang after na ma-offer, parang bonus na yun. Kasi yung pinaka-unang hanapin as a newbie is how to trade. Then everything else should follow naman eh. Parang kung meron na yan program that will help build me up as a person or as trader or whatever, parang bonus na yun. Yun yung naisip ko. So kung meron mga mentorship programs na that can also offer that after just the technicals and stuff, parang dyan makikita mo na magsistay na yung mga tao, and then that's when you build a community and yung friendships and relationships and everything else after.
Okay. Makes sense. Tama. So, yun, tama yung sabi ni Sir Alpha. Like, from the perspective nga of someone new sa market, ang habol talaga niya is kumita. Tama ba? Like, I want to join a mentorship kasi gusto kong gumaling sa trading. Pero I think, somewhere in the process, it's the burden or it's the responsibility of the mentor to somehow shift the expectation. Parang, okay, nandito ka, under sa akin, but this doesn't mean that you'll be profitable agad, or this doesn't mean na at the end of the program, magdi-beast mode ka na sa market, double your money ka na or what. If ever that happens, that's good, but it shouldn't be the framing for these programs. Kasi yun yung nagiging root cause ng frustration, and eventually yan, yung mga nakikita natin, yung mga controversy na they're saying na, I paid for this pero hindi pa rin ako kumikita, wala pa rin akong ROI for 3 years. Well, that's trading, di ba? It doesn't happen automatically. So yun, since napag-usapan din natin yung regarding sa cost of mentoring, kasi iba-iba yan, no? Sa iba't ibang programs. Yung question ko is, how do you make sure, or ano yung parang metric para masabi mo na it was worth it? Sa inyo, boss, ano yung parang parang if you are a mentee, paano masasabi na worth it yung pinasok mo?
If I were a mentee, paano ko masabi na worth it? Well, for me, the craft. So if you
Okay.
get, kasi yun yung pinaka bottom line natin, di ba? Learning the craft, that's one thing. But, syempre, that's only the first half. The other half is me being able to discover myself and really, kasi mahabang process or mahabang journey yung yung kumbaga yung kailangan mo para meron kang self-mastery, especially if you're just doing self-study. But, the reason why you're entering into a mentoring course is because, number one, you want to cut the time na kailangan mo mag-study. And number two, syempre, gusto mo magkaroon ng confidence agad. And since this is already a working system, kailangan mo makuha din yung confidence na yun in using the system. So for me, masasabi ko talaga na sulit siya pagka, let's say, nahanap ko agad yung niche ko, let's say within 2 years.
Okay.
Kasi if it sabihin na lang natin na pag umabot pa ng more than 3, usually kasi yan yung average nagko-quit na yung mga tao or ayaw nila sa trading. Pagka lumagpas ka ng 3, medyo safe ka na eh. Parang hindi, ito, tanggap ko na, ganito talaga ang trading, no? Pero for me, like, if you grow as a person, you understand who yourself during the process of the mentoring. Kasi yung sa mentoring process ngayon, it's kind of like you learn the system. After that, it's a journey of self-discovery. So, during those times na, let's say, nahanap mo kung sino ka, as a person, you grew. Kasi, din yung byproduct eh. Para tinuro sa'yo yung system, but what's more important is the process. Kasi even if ituturo ko yung system sa'yo, let's say, ganito yung mga patterns na kumikita, pero hindi ko naturo sa'yo yung process, walang silbi lahat ng system na tinuro ko. Kasi kailangan mo talaga ng process eh. How should one think? You know, parang paano ba yan? Kung mag-specialize ka, di ba? I think yung sa mga doctors, like if they specialize on certain things, syempre gusto nila yung field na kung asan komportable sila. And there's a lot of self-discovery about that. Kasi paano kung, let's say, halimbawa ako, I really don't like blood. Di ba? Tapos nag-doctor ako or what. Hindi sobrang mali nun. Ano pong sinasabi ko. But, ganun eh. Like, kailangan mong maintindihan kung sino ka talaga in the process of things. So, if I don't understand, like, if I don't come to that realization na, wow, when I look back, ang laki ng naging personal development ko, then, masasabi ko, parang hindi talaga siya sulit. Diba? Magiging sulit lang siya pagka talagang you see yourself na nagbago yung mindset mo, nagbago yung work ethics mo. Not just the technical itself. The technicals, that's just the bonus.
Yes,
yung totoong juice is you. Kasi ikaw yung pinakamalaking investment eh.
So, yun nga no, yung question na to, it popped up sa mind ko while you were discussing about this. So, what are you really paying for? Parang sa akin kasi, especially for paid mentoring programs, yung common misconception ng mga tao is the bulk of what they're paying is the content. And I think parang something is wrong with that kasi if you try to compare it with educational systems, ako I was part of the academe for more than 5 years. People pay, let's say for Ateneo, malaki yung tuition niya. Let's say Lasal, malaki yung tuition. Another school, let's say hindi private school, mababa yung tuition. But in terms of the curriculum for a certain course, in terms of the outline, it's generally the same. And if you'll be honest, yung content, madalas let's say 90% of the content in mentoring programs is Googleable. Sabi lang natin ganun. Pwede mo siyang i-search, pwede mo siyang matutunan by yourself if gusto mo lang talaga na matutunan siya ng ikaw. So, the idea that you're paying for the content is parang ano siya sa akin, it's frustrating both as a mentor and as a teacher. Kasi I believe that what the student is really paying for is the manner of instruction. That's one. And number two, yung guidance behind. Kasi if you're just after the content, then parang ano ka na lang, mag-YouTube ka na lang or mag-Google ka na lang. Lahat naman nandoon. Everything is free at this point, diba? Dahil sa internet.
Sorry. Gusto ko lang na parang it's kind of like if you have you ever tried to drive a car without a mentor? Parang ganun na lang. Either car or a bike. Have you ever tried Googling how to ride a
Yes.
bike? So,
Correct.
it's so different when you do it by yourself. Tapos i-google mo, dapat ganito lang yan eh. Pero kung pagsubukan mo, let's say, wala kang guide na tao, how many of you did that na kayo lang and became successful? You know, iba pa rin yung magiging confidence mo when you go to a person and say, hey, Noah, teach me how to bike. And then magaling siya magturo. Kasi merong iba naman, let's say, sabihin na, kaya mo na naman yan, di ba? So, it's really, again, ang ganda ng pagkasabi mo. It's really the manner of instruction, of how it was delivered. Kasi, meron namang mga magagaling na traders pero hindi talaga magaling magturo. May ganun eh.
Oh.
Di ba? Parang, shit, alam ko kung paano to i-google eh. Mas magaling pa yung naging
yan din pala,
sa
boss.
akin Google. Ganun eh.
Sorry, I have to cut you kasi parang bago ko makalimutan. Gusto ko sabihin, especially to the audience, parang not all good traders are good teachers and vice versa. So, napaka-rare na makakita ka ng someone na magaling na sa trading tapos at the same time, alam niya pa kung paano ituro. Yun talaga yung parang, kumbaga parang rare find when it comes to the mentoring part. So, yun lang. Ayun. Learning curve as well, no? Kasi, it's really different din, sabi nyo nga boss, it's different na you learn it on your own compared to having someone teach you either through spoon feeding or kahit nga indirect mentoring, parang ang laki na ng parang effect sa progress mo. Like for example sa akin, before I became AZFT, ang ginagawa ko, nagtatanong-tanong lang ako sa mga mentors tapos trying to piece out the system based on their answers. And that process of just asking the right questions, it led me to learning trading quicker than most of my peers. So, there's that. And siguro last na input ko is, especially sa mga nakikinig, when you go to a mentoring program, usually yung value, magmamaterialize siya not during but after the program. And that's something na you guys really need to understand. Like, kunwari sa immersion, parang during the program itself, ang ginagawa namin is parang we are exploring Ami Broker, Excel. Parang at first, parang nakikita ko minsan sa mga students na, bakit to tinuturo sa amin? Parang kailangan ko ba to? Ano yung magiging value nito? Pero eventually after ng program, doon lang na yung realization nila na, uy, because of this pala, parang bumilis yung screening ko. Tapos kasi yan eh, parang sa trading din, like it's a compounding effect. If you learn something new that helps you in a process, and that process is crucial sa trading mo, eventually yun yung magli-lead to the consistency or compounding ng gains mo or whatsoever. Yung iba kasi parang napaka-short term ng perspective nila na parang iniisip nila na kung during the mentoring itself, dapat doon ko makita yung improvement, which kinda doesn't make sense. So, yun. Yun lang naman.
I think another important thing that you have to consider is what happens, like what the mentor does when the student kind of goes through a failure or a string of losses. Kasi important yung ganun eh, yung kind of like constructive feedback. Like, alam natin that when you trade, darating sa point talaga that you're gonna incur losses. So, how does the mentor, like, tell the student na parang, hey, you know what, that's okay. Kailangan kasi may shift of perspective eh. Sometimes kasi from the perspective of the student, shit, I learned everything and this happened. Nalugi ako, Like, I fucked up on this. So, parang in that sense, parang gumuho na yung mundo niya. And you as a mentor, kasi alam mo na, napagdaanan mo na to eh, kailangan talaga, i-reassure mo yung student na, you know what, that's okay. Kasi baka mamaya nag-freak out na yun tapos ayaw na mag-trade, di ba? It's kind of like, I remember the first time I crashed our car, parang nakabangga ako ng jeep. Sobrang, as in, ang lakas ng kabog ng puso ko na parang patay na, wala na, gumuho na yung mundo ko kasi ang daming mga tao nakatingin sa akin. Alam mo yun, the moment na nakatingin siya sa'yo and you feel so much shame na parang nakabangga ako. And then, yung mentor ko, sinabi niya lang sa akin na, you know what, this happens, it's okay. So, alam mo yun, parang relax ka lang, sige, back up lang, ganito gawin mo. And then he apologized. So alam mo yung parang ganon, na iba yung magiging effect nun sa'yo eh, as a student na parang, okay lang pala yung ganito. Talaga? Yung 5,000 ko maliit lang pala. Okay, parang ganon. kaysa sa yung parang you'd feel totally bad and you feel like, ay shit, dapat hindi pala ako nagkamali. You know, everything has to be perfect. It's such a shame that I've lost this amount. Hindi ako worthy. Or parang, alam mo yung na mas lalo kang nabiberate as a student na parang hindi naman para sa akin yung trading. So I guess that is one thing I guess that parang kailangan natin iwasan as mentors na talagang you have to encourage your students na genuinely care about your students to pick them up and then have them try again kasi ganun talaga trading maglo-loss ka talaga. So what you do after after you incur loss, that's what's important, and your mindset is going to yung pinaka isang factor that will help you become great, no? From good to great.
Yeah. Just additional lang doon, boss. Parang isa din pala sa atin, challenge sa atin as mentors is to recognize that every student has different needs. And every student, iba-iba sila yung, kumbaga you cannot confine all the students in one approach lang of disciplining them or teaching them. Like, for some students, mag-work yung parang punishment system. Pero for others, counterproductive siya. So, yun, parang dapat maintindihan natin na there's no one effective way of helping the student improve.
There should be balance. So, totoo, tama yan.
Balance.
There should be balance. Halimbawa, kung yung student mo, lagi nang ginagawa yung mali, paulit-ulit na, pagalitan mo. Di ba? Para sabunan mo na kasi paulit-ulit ka na Di ba? Parang hindi ka nagka-cut-loss. Tapos biglang umabot ka sa 30%. Parang, what happened? Ba't umabot sa ganito?
Sige, question. Ito, medyo hindi sa bias, no? Pero since we are under TR, ano yung masasabi nyo, boss? Pati si Sir Alpha, yung difference ng mentors and coaches sa TR compared, let's say, with other programs. Parang sayang wala si Ken dito. Siya yung may magandang sagot sana dito.
Alam mo ang maganda, kasi bias ako Mas maganda kung tanungin mo yung mga viewers or yung people who are in TR. Kasi I'm pretty sure they've already experienced other programs as well. I don't wanna name programs or what kasi number one, hindi naman ako kasama sa programs nila. So, I would be very biased to say now, you know what, ganito ganyan. Let the people speak. I think that would be a more fair and objective way. Kasi, halimbawa, kung tarungin mo rin yung basher, edi one-sided lang din yan kasi hindi nila na-experience
Marami tayo sa TR na parang maraming sinalihan, no? Na iba't ibang mentorship program. Sige, hintayin natin sa comments. Pero while we're waiting for the comments, si Sir Alpha siguro, parang ask ko siya. Like, how is, parang, ano yung edge sa TR when it comes to the mentoring part? How is it different?
Teka, last na to, kailangan ko mag-offline soon.
Okay lang.
Okay lang.
Ano lang, ayun, medyo late na. Ay, nakita ko lang kasi ngayon, yung the positivity siguro dun sa community na parang it's very open. Tapos yun nga, parang it's yung mga siguro mas hindi natatakot siguro yung mga tao na magtanong. Hindi, it's a freer community. Siguro yun yung nasasabi ko. At saka yun nga, parang it's siyempre medyo bias nga, parang sabi ni G. It's for us na magsabi na siyempre ito yung mas okay dito, pero yun nga, parang trying to be objective is yun nga, it's freer and the positivity is there. People, hindi lang kasi yung mga mentors yung tumutulong sa mga sagot. Parang in the community itself, parang they're trying to help each other na rin.
So yun. Sa akin, gusto ko lang i-re-echo din yung thank you pala, no? Thank you, Sir Alpha. So baka if
yun lang.
Offline, okay lang.
Sige, okay lang. Salamat.
Thank you for joining us. Sa akin naman, parang I'd like to re-echo yung sabi ni Ken sa atin sa guild leaders. Parang what he love about the current setup is yung previous na setup kasi na parang there's a wall between the mentor and the student na parang, uy, ako mentor ako, ikaw student ka lang. So yes, you can ask me questions but there should be a line that separates the two of us. Sa TR kasi walang ganun And ako hindi naman ganun karami yung na-experience ko na parang trading groups. Actually, it's just ZFT. Pero outside of trading, I know what it feels to be parang marginalized in a sense na dahil nasa baba ka ng hierarchy, there are certain limits that you need to respect. Sa TR naman may ganun pa rin, pero siguro yung yung talagang nagre-resonate throughout the community is the genuine care for all the members, hindi lang from mentor to the student but also among the students or among the members themselves. Yun yung para sa akin na masabi ko na walang makakatalo. Hindi sa bias ako but effectively speaking, that's the case. So ayun. Okay, so I think we can wrap this up, no? Kaya boss, do you have parang words to the community regarding mentoring programs? Like ano yung parang final na sa kanila? Final message to them?
Well, siguro if ever you're gonna do, let's say, self-study, or if you're gonna find the right mentor for you, mag-research ka talaga, due diligence. Hindi pwedeng, just take everything with a grain of salt. Do your research, and I'm pretty sure, pag ginawa mo yun, makakahanap ka ng para sa'yo.
Okay.
Kasi, kumbaga, ayaw ko din na maging bias. Sabihin ko na, join na kayo ng ZFT or what. Lahat tayo kasi, different folks, different strokes. Find talaga kung ano yung swak sa value system mo. That for me is, kumbaga, yun yung pinaka-compass ko eh. Kung sa tingin mo yung value system ng mga taong to, or if you want to become that kind of people or that kind of community, then look for that mentor na may ganong katumbas na parang yun yung equivalent ng life principles or values na meron siya. Kasi kung hindi kayo same ng values, magiging bitter ka lang in the end. Mahirapan ka.
Yun. So, note guys values, yun yung pinaka-important talaga when it comes to finding the mentor. Sa akin, parang, siguro final advice is, before you look for a mentor, you need to find yourself first. It sounds cliche, no? But, if you don't, kumbaga parang if you can't define sa sarili mo mismo, like, for example, definition mo ng success, or definition mo ng learning, or definition mo ng progress, pag hindi mo yan ma-define sa sarili mo, and you look for a mentor na siya yung magdi-define in behalf of you, that's dangerous, okay, in a way. Risky din siya sa part mo kasi parang ikaw yung nakikibagay doon sa mentor as opposed sa siya dapat yung parang magbigay ng guidance sa kung sino ka talaga. And yun, it's very important na before you enroll sa mga mentoring programs na yan, you need to ask yourself, tama ba yung expectation ko? When it comes to trading, aligned ba yung objective ko with what this program or what this mentor has for me? So don't just parang, uy, grabe ang ganda ng mga gains, grabe ang laki ng growth ng portfolio nila. So dito na ako kasi sobrang ganda siguro ng system. Nako, pag ganun yung naging mindset nyo, ma-frustrate kayo at the end. So, yun lang, parang siguro, parang it's a sort of word of caution for everyone to really know yourself first before you look for someone na gusto mong i-replicate. Yun. So, thank you, guys, for joining us for tonight's podcast. Boss, thank you, boss.
Thank you, Cosmos.
And
salamat din sa mga salamat din sa mga nanonood at nag-engage with us tonight. Yes. Shoutout sa mga TR na nandyan.
Shoutout sa TR. Ito, may mga nagpapa-shoutout pa from Abu Dhabi.
At saka yung mga Team No Check nandito, kita ko sa comments.
So, yan. Thank you guys for joining us for tonight, and enjoy the rest of the trading week. Planning tayo ngayon. Meron pang oras, so let's ready ourselves for tomorrow's play. Thank you and good night.
Na lang for the TR community, if you're still listening, and if ever you would like to give a review of your TR experience, just post them in the comment section. Para alam ng iba kung ano yung experience. Para hindi naman bias kung galing sa amin coaches. That's it. Bye-bye. Salamat.